So today we're going to look at Meaco Arete Two and the Arete One. This is what we've been using, and this is obviously the brand new unit we've got. And let's look at the key differences. Physically, there aren't many differences. It's more of an evolution and some upgrades with the Arete Two. And let's look at the key differences. So the biggest difference is inside between the motors. The Arete One uses an AC fan motor, whereas the Arete Two uses a brushless DC motor. And we'll come back to that, whether it actually makes a difference in terms of running cost later in the video. And then Arete Two also got 3 fan speeds instead of 2, so it can move more air when you need it, particularly useful when you're drying your laundry. And speaking of laundry, this also got something called a louver, which allows you to direct your airflow towards your clothes. So something you don't get on Arete One, and if you can see, it's just completely open. And this is kind of useful when you're drying your laundry. In terms of the control panel, I will turn it on both in a minute actually. Let me see. So you get a fully touch control panel. You can set your preferred dehumidifier level, and it also comes with a laundry mode and a timer. So this is quite useful if you want to dry your laundry within a set time period. And it also comes with a child lock, and also when you select that, it also goes to the night mode, and which becomes a little bit quieter. The fan speed drops. And so yeah, and you can also connect this unit to the app via Wi-Fi. So this is obviously a convenient feature that you can get with the Arete Two, whereas the Arete One is obviously very old school, tactile buttons, and it's not touch control panel. It's just very old school panel. Yeah, and that's pretty much it as far as the control panel goes. So the next interesting question is, what size dehumidifier do I actually need? This seems to be obviously a question a lot of people also wonder. And 12, 20, and 25 are the sizes that the Arete Two comes in. In the Arete One, you can also get the 18 as well. But from my experience, I wouldn't choose purely based on the number of bedrooms you've got. And also, smaller capacity dehumidifier can absolutely do the job. But what I've found is that larger capacity machine, like the 25 or the likes of 20, can bring the dehumidifier, like the humidity, down more quickly, reach the target sooner, then cycle on and off to maintain it. So the next question is the Arete Two really better for laundry drying? For us, it has been definitely yes. And it's because this is where we're seeing the most noticeable difference. Because Arete One is actually blowing the air like vertically, so you can't really point towards your laundry. Whereas Arete Two, you can. In fact, you can point towards a very specific shirt or a t-shirt if you like. So this has been really a game changer, especially in winter and autumn and colder days in general. And also it has got 3 fan speeds, so which means you can recycle or move the air much faster, right? Therefore you can dry your clothes much faster. So we can get through one set of laundry in about half a day. But of course this varies depending on what you're drying. So if you have like heavy clothes or jackets or stuff like that, would take long. However, if they're just general t-shirts and shirts and just everyday clothes, it shouldn't take longer than a half a day to a day. So now the interesting question is, will one dehumidifier be enough for the whole house? This question has seemed to have been asked quite a lot. So what I found is that opinions have been mixed, and because one person said that they had a Arete 12-liter one, and when it was used in individual rooms, it was fine. But when they tried to use it for the whole house, it struggled, and they had to move on to a 25-liter to have an impact. And when they did, it obviously did a good job and it made an impact. However, then there was another person who used the Arete 12-liter for the whole house, said it did a good job. So I suppose Potentially both of them are right, because it's not just about the size of the dehumidifier, it's also about the size and the layout of your house. How damp it is, how much moisture you're producing, and whether the air can actually move between the rooms. If you've got the dehumidifier somewhere central, like the hallway, whether the doors open, then yes. One unit can help bring the one one unit can help bring the humidity down across multiple rooms. But if you've got doors closed and poor airflow between rooms, it's obviously going to have a much harder time. So I wouldn't necessarily say you need a dehumidifier in every room. One can be enough, but choosing the right size for your home is probably more important than simply buying multiple units. The next one is quite confusing one, because most people compare them, saying that the Arete One has a fan motor while the Arete Two has a brushless motor. Yes, but what does that mean in practice and do in practice? So first of all, we need to understand that both machines still remains a compressor dehumidifier, so there's nothing has changed in that regard. However, the advantage of the Arete 2 and the brushless motor is the efficiency and the airflow control it offers. And that's why the Arete 2 can have 3 fan speeds instead of 2, and on the 20-liter model, it can move considerably more air at its highest setting. But here's the interesting bit. It does not necessarily mean it runs at a cheaper cost. But we'll get into that later. One other thing I've noticed is that when you first start using the dehumidifier, it can collect surprising amount of water. If you've never used one in your house before, don't be surprised if it's running a lot and you're emptying the tank quite regularly in those first few weeks. That's because you're not only dealing with the moisture produced that day, that's also moisture stored in things like the walls, furniture, and other materials around the house, which can gradually be released back into the air as you lower the humidity. In our experience, this initial period can last for around 4 to 6 weeks. After that, once you've brought the overall moisture level in the house under control, the machine tends to settle down. It doesn't need to work as hard, and you're generally not collecting anywhere near as much water. So if you buy one of these and think, bloody hell, where is all this water coming from? Don't panic. That's quite normal when you're first getting the humidity under control. That's also worth remembering when thinking about running cost, because how much the machine runs in those first 3 weeks isn't necessarily a representation of how much it will cost in the long run. I think the next question is quite interesting. How accurate the meter readings are. Lots of people compare their dehumidifier meter readings to a standalone humidity sensor meter readings and conclude there is something wrong with their dehumidifier. It's most likely not the case. Let me explain, and I think it's worth understanding why and how it can happen. Because your standalone humidity sensor actually measures your humidity levels immediately around it, while your dehumidifier is actually consistently pulling the air through the machine, and it measures the air moving through the machine in that particular moment. So this can vary because of that reason. This seems to be a particularly popular with Arete 2 model, and a lot of people worry about the meter readings being different. So your humidity isn't exactly the same everywhere in the house. The temperature, the airflow, and the placement of your dehumidifier can have an impact on your meter readings. I've also seen people suggesting that the Arete 2 measures absolute humidity rather than relative humidity. It doesn't. The number you see on the display is relative humidity, just like a normal household humidity meter. So I wouldn't get caught up trying to make the two different devices show exactly the same number. If they're reasonably close, that's what I would expect. If the difference is massive, say one is telling you the room is quite dry while the other is telling you it's very humid, then yes, I'd start questioning what's going on. But a small difference, that's completely normal and please allow it. So finally, how much does it actually cost to run? Well, for us, it has been about 240 a month before we started using the dehumidifier. And since we started using it, it has only gone up by about 10 or 20 quid a month, depending on our heat usage, of course. But I also think that it's not fair for you to just assess the dehumidifier cost just like really limited to a specific period. Especially now we have heat waves coming up and it's become part of our lives. It seems though that we be using throughout the year. And so in my view, the dehumidifier is all around year investment. So you be using in winter months and spring to clean the like if you have allergies and hay fever, etc., so you'll be using for the air purification a lot. And then of course the summer months, to make the summer heat feel much more comfortable, because obviously it will pull all the humidity level and then it makes less sticky and less warm and dense air in the especially in upstairs rooms, etc. So I would definitely consider a dehumidifier as a all year round investment, and thereby I would think, personally I would consider the cost worked out all year round rather than just limiting to winter months. So I mean, from what I've gathered, Arete One cost around about 5 to 6 pence per hour using during, of course. So what I gather, using the Arete One, it costs about 5 to 6 pence per hour, and of course this varies depending on your utility provider. However, with the Arete Two, it's only cost about £5. Is that the Arete One costs about 5 to 6 pence per hour, and while the Arete Two costs about 5 pence per hour, because the Arete One uses about 216 watts, whereas the Arete Two uses about 207 watts. So as you can see, there's not much difference. So the final verdict: is the Arete 2 worth the extra money? Well, it depends. If you've already got Arete 1, you shouldn't be in a rush to upgrade it, unless of course you're dying to use the mobile app or the laundry feature that and or the fan motors. But if you're of course buying a new one, I think it's worth that extra upgrades, because obviously you're buying a newer model, which also comes with nice bit of upgrades, and so the higher fan speed and also the mobile app, etc. So I think it's worth then. But if you already got one, I think you shouldn't be in a rush. So I hope I helped you to decide on your new purchase or whether to upgrade or not. And if I hadn't answered any of the questions you had, please do leave them in the comment sections. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you did like and enjoy the video, please do give me a likes or subscribes to my channel. So I do make repair videos and how to fix things around the house. So yeah, I hope you enjoy those videos, and see you in the next